Allison Rosen. Allison Rosen is your new best friend. Allison, with her good times never end. Allison Rosen, doing the wavy pencil dance again. Allison Rosen, Allison's your new best friend.
Hey everyone. Hi, hello. Welcome to another exciting episode of Allison Rosen is your new best friend. I'm sitting here in Pod Cabin with comic, filmmaker, host, stunt reporter, and author of possibly the definitive Johnny Carson book. It's called Love Johnny Carson, One Obsessive Fan's Journey to Find the Genius Behind the Legend. Please put your hands together for Mark Malkoff.
Thank you, Allison. It's good to see you again.
Good to see you too. Do you feel this is the definitive book?
I think it might be definitive in terms of The Tonight Show starring Johnny Carson from 62 to 92. In terms of Johnny's life, I don't know. People that have read it have told me so. But, I don't know. I talked to 400 people, and I tried to put together a lot of things that people didn't know about Johnny and The Tonight Show. And, a lot of people that had never talked publicly, his friends, and I probably talked to 60 or 70 Tonight Show staff members and just people that knew him from Nebraska. And I tried to just, in terms of what the people I talked to, put out the truth. And it was very counterculture to what the media put out, which was cold and aloof. And
right.
I talked to 400 people, and I'm just like, where's this cold and aloof? And it was this light bulb moment when I talked to all his friends who had never talked publicly, and it was this complete different person than the media. He was not J.D. Salinger. He wasn't Garbo, and they made him out to be. It was a very interesting journey. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, let's back up a little bit. Okay. So I met you back on the Adam Carolla show.
Yes.
And then I believe I've also seen you at Phil Rosenthal's.
Movie night.
You are a jack of all trades.
I thought you were going to say a jack of something else, but okay, that's nice.
What
I don't know.
Could you be a jack of?
I don't know. Yeah.
A jack of cheese?
That may be a jack of cheese, but yes, I do. I follow my curiosity.
Right. Because I think on the Adam Carolla show, you're probably promoting your stunt videos.
I think so. I think it was the stunt videos.
You lived in an IKEA for a week.
I did.
You tested the bounds of what the Apple Store will allow.
Again, I would go into Apple stores, and I had heard that people were doing outrageous things in an Apple store that had never been documented. And I would ask people that worked there, could you conceivably do blank in an Apple store, give them an outrageous scenario? They'd pause and say, I don't see why not. So
was there anything you couldn't do?
I thought that
you brought a pony in there, right?
It was a goat. I should have had a pony, but they were good with. I went petting zoo brought a goat for me, and I really did think that they were going to maybe stop me with the goat, but it was that they like barnyard animals apparently at the Apple Store. Wow. So yeah, it's again like I wanted to get over my fear of flying. I had a genuine fear of flying, and I thought sometimes I think in extremes. My idea was to live nonstop on a commercial airplane for a whole month to get over my fear of flying. People would get on and off. I would have to stay on. And every pilot wanted to meet me. And I did do this, by the way, on an airplane. I set a Guinness World Record. And after a week of the pilots, Mark, all turbulence is being in the ocean and going over a wave. It's driving over gravel. And they all kind of talked me through my fear and forcing myself to fly 4 to 8 times a day and sleeping alone on the plane at night. I pretty much got over yeah.
I mean, I guess that makes sense because why would anyone else be on the plane? So you're just in that part sounds creepy to me, not because of fear of flying, but like fear of
it was
mechanical,
strange.
Cold, dark places.
This was so every night it would ground in Atlanta. And I'd be alone on the plane at night, and it took about 6 hours for the cleaning crew because it's so gross by the end of the day, the plane. And then TSA would come on every few hours. They would wake me up and they said, Mark, is that your suitcase? And I said, yes, I'm the only one on the plane. Sorry, Mark, go back to sleep. And then once a day, I never went into an airport or public for a month, but I had a badge. I had to go down to Atlanta, FBI background check, TSA is involved, never in aviation history. I have a badge that allows me to walk unaccompanied on the tarmac in Atlanta around. So I have my sleeping bag and a pillow, and people are doing double takes like, who is this guy on the tarmac with a pillow and a sleeping bag? So then they say, let me see your SIDA badge. And I'd show them. And then I would say, let me see your SIDA badge. I said, okay.
What's SIDA?
I don't really know, but it was I don't know what SIDA stands for, but I had a badge and they would call it a SIDA badge. That was aviation term. I don't know.
This was all was this for My Damn Channel?
This was not.
Was this just for yourself?
This was for, I lived in IKEA. I convinced them to let me live and sleep in their store. And then I had this idea to get over my fear of flying, and an airline AirTran had the same idea, and they came to me. And they said originally, will you live on our plane for a week? And I said, no, it has to be a month because I want to get over my fear. And they said, well, we wanted to ask a month. We thought that was too much of you to ask. I'm like, it's not too much to ask.
Okay, so that answers my question because I'm like, how did you get... Actually, it does, but doesn't answer my question. Like, how did you get permission to do this? Because you can't even, bring... an extra bag on the plane, and they're like, yes, sleep on our plane. So was it an airline?
AirTran, which was bought by, I think, Southwest, they facilitated all of those.
This is wild.
It was. I mean, my wife, Christine, flew with me on the weekends to see me. So they would book her these trips, and it didn't matter where we went if we had delays. And then they were very kind. It was my anniversary that month in June, so we had our anniversary dinner on the wing of a plane in Atlanta. Thankfully, the plane was not moving. I couldn't shower for a month. That was not fun.
Oh, my God.
Baby wipe city.
I didn't think about that. Ew.
Yeah, that wasn't good.
What kind of seats were you in?
Business class.
Okay, that's good.
But it only reclined maybe 2 inches. So
how were you by the end?
Psychologically, it was the hardest thing I ever did. Once I got past the halfway mark, I was okay. I was feeling a little antsy. They were all very nice, but it was like I got over my fear, which was good. I don't know. I think I just missed going in public a little bit.
I would think
it was
feels a weird prison sentence.
It was definitely. By the end, I was ready to get back into civilization to get my social skills. I feel like even now, writing a book for 4 years, like I'm getting my social skills back right here. You're helping me. Alice, and my wife, Christine, is so happy that I'm doing this and talking to people, and I'm not like just with her and the cats for 4 years.
So okay. And then you also hosted, and you brought it back, the Carson podcast.
I did. I did a podcast. I thought it would be just a few episodes about Johnny Carson and the Tonight Show. And I did not know that I picked the thing that everybody would want to talk to. I mean, there's so many famous people that people would be like, Mark, how are you getting these people? And I'm like, it's not me. I mistakenly picked Johnny Carson. I didn't know that everyone would want to talk. There would be these iconic people, and their assistants would be like, they're so excited to talk to you. I'm sorry to name drop. Jimmy Buffett. His people, he's very excited. I'm like, Mr. Buffett, why would you be excited to talk to me? He's like, Mark, it was the biggest break of my career. No one has ever asked me about it.
Here's an interesting thing. When I hear Mr. Buffett, I assume it's going to be Warren Buffett.
I'm going to go to Nebraska with Oreos and cherry Coke, and I'm going to hang out. I should do the Warren Buffett podcast. But in 1981, Jimmy Buffett told me he could not get booked on television, and that and opening up for the Eagles were the biggest breaks of his career. And no one had ever asked him about Carson, and they were so excited to talk about it. It was like one thing after another. And this was back when it was really hard. You couldn't do a podcast over Zooms. So most of the time I was going to people's homes and offices. I was all over Los Angeles. I would do phoners occasionally. I tried not to, but I have
always tried not to do phoners as a writer, journalist, and then tried not to do remotes as a podcaster. And then the pandemic happened, and then it's just fucking game on. I still don't like it.
There are a couple iconic people that are like, it's phone or nothing. I'm like, yes, Miss Burnett, Carol, we will talk on the phone. And she did twice, and it was wonderful, and she's delightful. I still have never met her in person, but I tried this.
So you did, you did the podcast.
I did.
And tons of people want to talk to you.
8 years
of popular. 8 years, popular podcast.
I think so.
I read is somewhere that you call it's referred to as a single mic podcast. What does that mean?
It means that for whatever reason, maybe I was too cheap.
Literally had one microphone?
I did, but it was a happy accident that happened that I had one microphone and I would sit. So they would sit just like a foot or so away, and I would go back and forth. My God. And there was an intimacy that just like a connection that it was a pure accident, and people really liked it because it couldn't really interrupt when somebody was talking.
It forces you to wait your turn.
Yeah, so I was basically the journalist going back and forth with the mic. And that doesn't really happen in podcast land too much, but that's how we did it for that was just me. I think because I just didn't have a tech and I didn't know how to set up two mics.
Right.
So,
no, I get it. That's so interesting. So you brought the podcast back.
I am bringing it back temporarily just because I have the book out and because
still single, Mike.
No, I haven't. You know what? It's been remote the whole time. Now that I have Zoom capability, we're in 2025. But the thing is there's all these people I didn't know in the last 4 years since I've been writing the book that I can talk all these new people because I stopped doing the podcast because people when they were kids doing this show now are 50. Like Drew Barrymore was a kid doing the show. Now she's 50. Jason Bateman. Sammy Davis Jr. dedicating his song to a young Jason Bateman teenager. So it was just people were just unfortunately I've talked to 400 plus people and like 50 of them are gone by now that I've talked to. So
did you kill them?
I did. I murdered all of them with ricin.
You're like, this is going to be your last interview. Breaking
Bad. Vince Gilligan's giving me some ideas. Yeah. So it was one of those things that now there's all these people I didn't know about. Just interesting people like that. This woman I talked to recently who was a softball pitcher that could pitch 90 miles an hour underhand and would she struck out all these Major League Baseball players, and she went on Carson in the 70s and pitched, and Johnny couldn't even hit a ball. But they all have very interesting stories. And going on Carson back then, it would catapult these people that were unknowns, and then they could make all the rounds and do personal appearances for years.
Wow.
It was like the guy that that's coming up, professional horseshoe thrower and win championships, and went on Carson. It was like every state fair. And then international, like this guy who would play music with his hands, he called it a manualist. He quit his job as a lawyer in Michigan.
And you're putting your hands together in the like, I'm going to make fart sounds way.
But this guy could play Stars and Stripes forever with his hands.
Wow.
And he went on Carson and he quit his job as a lawyer because he could make more money in Las Vegas at lounges playing. That was the power of Johnny Carson. And you know, it's just different metrics, as we know. That doesn't happen today. Mm-hmm. Maybe if something like that would happen, it would be over Instagram or YouTube. People bring like followers, but
Tua.
Yes, yes. But for Carson, the power of Carson was pretty amazing to talk to some of the, especially the comics, obviously, that would their dream to do the show and their lives changing, and like them crying to me, like tears in their eyes, telling me their story, reliving it on their face. And them thanking me because I'm doing this because it's like somebody loves their college experience, but no one ever asks them about it or cares. And I just do so much research. I'm nerdy. I like doing research. And I think that they just really, I don't know, it was special time. And that somebody really cares that much.
Did you talk to anyone who hated him?
I tried to get Joan Rivers. I've met her twice. She was very nice. I tried to get Joan Rivers. I tried to get Wayne Newton. He wouldn't talk to me. There really aren't many people. Like, it's interesting because I was just with Mr. Jimmy Pardo, and we love him, even though he did call me Matt, and my name is Mark, but that's okay. I respond to anything. He's like,
Does that happen to you often?
Sometimes, not too much. Sometimes it's like Mike. Mike Myers would get Mark. I think Mike's Mark's. But I was with Jimmy, and he's like, I heard he was that Carson was a kind of a terrible man. And I asked him to name 3 people that had a problem with him, and he couldn't do it. Most people can't.
Did you take that personally when he said that?
No. You know what? You know somebody, I'll tell you who it is afterwards, that did an interview in a print magazine saying that Johnny wouldn't put many female comics on The Tonight Show. And I called him, and I very politely, I was like, can you name 2 women that he didn't have on that he should have had on that you think were Carson comics that should have gotten on? Name 2. And he couldn't even name one. And he's like, I guess it's a myth. I'm like, then why would you publicly say that? I mean, as Ellen DeGeneres said, there weren't many women comics, period. Yeah. The only women that didn't get booked that I know of were if you went on in character and the audience, Johnny thought the audience couldn't tell, like Emo Phillips wouldn't get booked because Johnny he felt that was disrespectful to the audience if they couldn't tell if it was a character or not. So Judy Tenuta would not get a booking, or Gilbert Gottfried wouldn't get a booking. But if it was obvious, like Super Dave Osborne or Father Guido Sarducci, that was okay. But in terms of the women that got on, there weren't a lot of women that were doing stand-up, but they all, I mean, for the most part, the only person I can think of that didn't get on that, I was like, they should have really gotten on, was Margaret Smith, who's really, really funny. But yeah.
Okay, so... And you also host Inside Late Night.
Yes, for Late Nighter. I talk to people, like Saturday Night Live people, Letterman. I had a day job on Letterman, day job on Colbert Report. So, just people at all the shows.
So, why John? Like, I'm trying to think, who is Johnny Carson to a young person today?
He doesn't exist because nobody, I think, under 40. I mean, the guy's been off the air for 33 years.
Yeah.
It doesn't seem like that. Younger people will sometimes, people in college on YouTube will be so fascinated by this and by his likability and just take these deep dives into show business. Because I really think in terms of a time capsule in 30 years, that Carson, it's one of the best things to see where the country was politically at the time, the fashion, where the music that was popular, and just, I don't know. But yeah, younger people, for the most part, have no idea. Just like Ellen DeGeneres was the biggest thing in TV. In a couple of years, people will not know who she is. Younger people, unless you're in rotation.
So because in your book you mentioned that you had like an obsession that turned into an addiction.
I was really into comedy, and with Carson, it was just, there was not much information on what happened backstage at the show, almost none. People were really loyal to Johnny, and there was just so many people that talked to me that never talked before, and I just had a lot of questions on what went on behind the scenes. Like, I'd be watching with my dad, I'm like, who's holding the curtain open for Johnny? Well, I get to talk to him. His name is Irving Davis. He lives in LA, and he's telling me about that, and all the talent coordinators. Just, I really wanted to know what was going. Same with Saturday Night Live. Like, I would camp out overnight for tickets when I was in high school, Hershey, Pennsylvania, and I'd be on the concrete on 49th Street, and I'd go to see Late Night with David Letterman when he was on NBC, and I was just fascinated by these worlds, and I just wanted to know how everything was done. And SNL back then, there was no showing how everything was done behind the scenes. It was a giant mystery.
Were you fascinated with show business, or specifically with late night shows, or do you have the kind of mind where you always want to know how things work?
I think I want to know always, but I was really, really into comedy in particular. I was always, when I would watch a movie, so many questions, just obnoxious to the point. But again, it's a giant mystery how a show like that or movies are put together in Hershey, Pennsylvania, when I'm there. So it's like me going up to New York and getting to see these shows when I was in high school, and going to Conan his first year where they couldn't fill the audience, and it was 199 seats, I think, and they couldn't even fill in the first year, and going to the show and getting to know people over there and all the shows, and then work in the industry. It was my education, I felt. Yeah.
When you were growing up, did Carson shine brighter than the others for you?
I think Letterman, like in terms of like people like our age, my age, was the guy that everyone loved because he was so innovative. But there was something just about Carson that I likability, and just there was something just the old school that I loved, that he would have the comics on, and just the animals and the kids, and just like a likability that, because Dave could really turn some people off. I mean, I love Letterman, I really, really do, but sometimes he could be mean to, back on the NBC show at least, or perceived to be mean, where Johnny was just such a likable guy, and there was just something about that world. But I was convinced that he was, just from Joan Rivers and one or two other books, that he was probably not a good guy. That's why I was very reluctant to do the podcast, because I did not want to put negativity in the world, and I thought that if I started this, that's probably what was going to happen. And then when I started to talk to people, it was like my jaw dropped. I mean, it was just like one thing after another of people telling me stories that Johnny did for them, saving people's lives from drugs, writing checks when people were, I mean, their lives they ran out of money. I mean, it was just like one thing after another, talking to people. And the friends, again, were so loyal, had never talked. They all told me the same thing. It was very consistent. When Johnny felt comfortable with somebody, it was a small group of people that they would say consistently he was the same Johnny on and off The Tonight Show. A little less gregarious, but pretty much the same. And I'm convinced the only way to really do that job for 30 years and stay on top that well and resonate with everybody in America is to be yourself out there. I mean, the man did shut down when the lights were off, and I'll tell you why. Mark David Chapman, who killed John Lennon, had a short list of people. Johnny Carson was on that list. People in Bel Air, where Johnny lived, were climbing over his fence. The FBI was routinely had to protect him. And it was just, the guy could not walk down the street without people that would watch him every night in bed, feeling like they know him, and physically grab him by the arm and be like, Johnny, meet my friends. And just for self-preservation, he would have to just shut down sometimes. I mean, it was, in terms of fame, I don't think that there was a figure in entertainment at that point, those 30 years, that was more famous than he was, or as famous, maybe.
So So going into the podcast, what was it that you thought he was? Like, what was his, I mean, I know a bit, but what was his reputation?
Just from hearing with Joan Rivers, and he had a lawyer that wrote a book, and some of the others, just, I thought and what the media made him out to be just cold and aloof. I didn't think he had friends. I thought he was a pretty much kind of a recluse, not a good guy. I knew he had alcohol problems, but I didn't really know until I started the podcast and really was digging that he would talk about it on the Tonight Show. He was very open about that he struggled with alcohol. He'd have one drink too many and he'd turn into Attila the Hun. He was an open book on that show with his life. And I talk about it a lot in the book, but for example, like we talk about the drinking, he talked about being overly competitive. I mean, the competitiveness to last 30 years. I mean, in 1971, he has 4 TVs going. And back then, people did not have 4 TVs in their living room.
Right.
He has 4 TVs going on at 11:30 in 1971. It's his show at 11:30, and he's watching it. Then Dick Cavett's show with the TV right next to it. And then he has David Frost, and then it's either Joey Bishop or Merv Griffin. So, I mean, he's just the most competitive person you can imagine. So he does have the competitiveness going, which he would talk about how he really did struggle with that. But
and he talked about that on air?
He would, yeah. Especially
like
with
what kind of stuff would he
tennis,
say?
he would throw rackets and just like if he would
McEnroe.
If he would, yeah. And he actually, Johnny, and when he sold his house in Point Doom, the Carpin Beach, McEnroe bought it and he put it in the contract as a joke that McEnroe had to give him 6 tennis lessons, and McEnroe signed the contract, so they actually went to Pepperdine because neither McEnroe or Carson at that point had a tennis court. So yeah, McEnroe gave Johnny tennis rackets. But yeah, Johnny, just like losing Trivial Pursuit would ruin his day. I mean, he was just really competitive. But he would talk about all those things on the show. I mean, I think that's why he resonated.
Yeah, he was human.
Yeah. I mean, he would talk about all those things. He would talk about the wives.
How many wives were there?
There were 4. Ed McMahon had 3. Doc Severinsen had 3. Johnny had 4. Bobby Quinn, who was the director, had 3 or 4. I mean, it was... Back then in show business, it was, from talking to people that were in it, there was just, especially out here in California, lots of temptation, I guess, and ladies throwing themselves at some of the people, and there's no TMZ or cell phones,
right.
And there was, a lot of stuff like that going on.
Did he cheat?
He was not faithful from what I know of. That was one thing that I did going into the podcast that seemed to be a thing that he was not that he definitely was not the greatest husband at times. With that was definitely something that was consistent with, I think, a lot of show business back then, probably still, but he would put all the energy into the show and something was going to suffer, and it was the marriages and the kids. He really, really did struggle. I mean, he was a pilot. He had a license, so he would take the kids out in New York, and he had a boat. He'd take them out and stuff. But he just really, really struggled, I think, as a father, and regretted it later in life.
How many kids did he have?
He had 3 sons.
From how many marriages?
It was all from his first wife, Jody.
Okay.
And it was just tough. One of them died in 91, and Johnny canceled a month of shows and was... I mean, people that when he came back after a month, they said it just looked like a shell of a person. They didn't think he would be able to go on that night. I mean, the one thing that the cold and aloof thing, I just talked to so many people that told me at the times that they saw him crying. There was this gentleman I talked to who went to Carson's show once, and he had kind of a negative opinion of Carson from going to the show, and I would have too if I were him. He sees Johnny in Reagan makeup. He's doing a Reagan sketch, and the audio fails, something with the microphone, and he starts swearing in front of the audience and throws the microphone and just walks off, and he just disappears, and he definitely comes back and apologizes. But if I saw that, I'm like, this is unprofessional to do
right.
this. Little did this person know that night in 1987, Johnny found out 20 minutes before the show that his best friend Buddy Rich had just died. Johnny had tried to get a note to him at the hospital and had found out not only did Buddy Rich die, his note didn't get to Buddy Rich. So he's sobbing his eyes out. And people are like, Johnny, please cancel the show. But they had loaded in the audience. And Johnny's like, I can't disappoint these people. People fly in just for the show. So he goes out there, and I've watched the tape many times, and you just see Johnny's eyes are all red. He can't mention his friend, Buddy Rich, the best drummer maybe in the history of drumming.
Was it not It wasn't public
It
yet.
wasn't. So Johnny didn't say anything. He knew that if he mentioned Buddy Rich's name, he would start crying. He gets through it, and then he does the Reagan sketch, and the audio, it just broke him. That was like the thing. Twice, maybe in 30 years, that he lost it in front of the audience. But that is why, because his best friend and the audience had no idea. And then they just cut that out, and they redid the sketch, and Johnny apologized to the audience and got through, and then canceled 2 more weeks of shows. He was just so devastated. And I think that was the last funeral he went to. He would not go to funerals because he was so famous. He did not want to take attention away from the person, unless, like, Buddy Rich's funeral was like Sinatra, Jerry Lewis. He went to that. Like, Jack Benny was his mentor in '74. Benny died, or some 75. There were a lot of famous people, so he went to Benny's funeral and then proceeded to go home and sob uncontrollably for 3 hours, and according to his wife Joanna. And then he didn't do a monologue the first show back and just talked about his friend.
Do you think you would have liked to meet him?
Yeah, I think it would have gone well. I wouldn't have before I started the podcast, because I just didn't think he would be socially up for it. And it's just talking to the friends and the people that loved him and the loyalty that he had for so many people. I would. There are certain people I really like what they do artistically, but I'm like, I've heard things I don't. But from talking to so many people, I think that I would like to meet him. Do you have anybody like that you would
love to meet?
Yeah, or just questions about, curiosity-wise, that you like their work. I mean, I feel like with everybody now, they have a podcast, they have something where it's like all the questions are answered.
Right.
I was just curious, like, what is going on behind the scenes? And there isn't much like that today.
No, there's really not.
There's not.
Mystery.
I miss mystery. Like the people that have mystery. The only people I can think of that have mystery today, Bob Dylan maybe in Malibu. It's like he doesn't really show his face unless he's on stage.
Right.
There's a little mystery there. I'm trying to think if there's anyone else.
I feel like Brad Pitt doesn't do the interview rounds that
DiCaprio
much.
very rarely. He did it recently with.
But I'm not like dying to know.
I don't think we're like, why?
God, I've got to know
Brad Pitt.
Yeah, I know.
There isn't a lot of it. But once like Harper Lee died and J.D. Salinger, there
Thomas
really
Pynchon still.
Yeah.
But I also am. I mean, I'm a fan, but I'm not like dying to know.
And Bill Watterson, who did Calvin and Hobbes, he's like mysterious. They have like one photo from like 1987, and apparently he would go into bookstores once in a while and just sign a handful of books, and they would just be there. But he's like the one guy that wouldn't take the merchandise money. He would have made like a gazillion dollars for Calvin and Hobbes. So he's another one that has some mystery, but there aren't many.
J.D. Salinger, I think, was not a good guy, right? And that's a bummer.
It sounds that.
Because what's her name?
Shane Salerno's documentary was amazing. Oh, yeah, Joyce. What's her name?
Joyce something wrote a thing. Was it an article or was it a book?
I thought she wrote a book.
Maybe it was a book, and it didn't paint him in. I didn't read it. I just read about it, but it didn't paint him in a flattering light.
Shane Salerno's documentary was unbelievable. The Salinger doc. I was so fascinated by it.
I need to see it. Is it negative?
I think it was probably very fair, but there was definitely negativity. But boy, did that town protect him, because what other public figure do people just show up to their town and just ask the locals where does J.D. Salinger live, and they were just very protective of Jerry. But I'm trying to think, like Bob Dylan would get people to show up to his farm, I guess, back in the day in the 60s. And John Lennon would have people show up to Dakota. And it was weird. Back then, I've talked to people that were around New York in the 70s, and like Katharine Hepburn, you could ring her bell and say that you made her a pie, and she'd buzz you in and just hang out with you. And like let John Lennon, people would hang out at the Dakota, and he would just invite people up and just hang out. And it was just such a different time.
Right. Although it didn't go well for him.
No, it did not. That is what a lot of the security procedures changed. I mean, Johnny Carson was consistently, people would get past security at NBC with knives and guns. I was in his he had a basement. His last office was down in the basement, and he had a secret passageway. It was like this escape hatch that I was in, that I saw just in case somebody got in.
Did he ever use it? Not
that I know of, but I mean, he was one of those people that was like, he was born in Iowa, but grew up most of his life in Nebraska. And he was so Nebraska. He's like, I don't want a bodyguard. I don't want a limousine. Ed McMahon had the limousine, the license plate. Here's Ed. And Johnny's like, look down at that. Johnny drove himself at least in the 70s, brown paperback sack lunch, he did have a gun. He had a concealed license with a gun. He didn't have to use it, thankfully, but that was his protection that he would do. But I mean, in terms of threats to his life.
Was he a gun guy? Like, did he go
No,
hunting? Or...
he hated that stuff. It was just pure protection. I mean, sometimes when he would play, one of the people told me, because he had this poker game, he had 2 poker games, but it would be Barry Diller, Johnny Carson, Steve Martin, Chevy Chase, Dave, who else would be in there? Steve Martin, I said, Dr. Simon, Neil Simon. So they play that, and sometimes Johnny would just take out his gun just as a joke for intimidation and be like, put it down on the table. But that sounds like a fun poker game to me.
Who do you think does the best Carson impression?
I think probably Rich Little, but I love Dana Carvey's impression because he really captures Johnny's gentleness. Dana did, Robert Smigel, who I've known since I was 17 from going to Conan when I was in high school. Smigel's been so nice, got Dana to be, they were my last guest on the Carson podcast. And it was conflicting for me a little bit just because they're both responsible for Carson retiring, at least somewhat.
How so?
Because Johnny did not want to become Bob Hope or Lucille Ball or Jack Benny. They thought all 3 of them stuck around way too long. And Johnny wanted to be remembered for the best work. And he felt Smigel's sketches, which Dana Carvey was in, portrayed him as just out of touch, old, and just... really a dinosaur compared to like Letterman. And
was he thin-skinned?
I don't think okay, yes, he was definitely very sensitive because his friend Carl Sagan, the astronomer, and they were friends, corrected him twice on the show and interrupted Johnny to correct him on statistics, and Carson never had him on again. He was really, Dave Letterman too, very, very, because Dave could sometimes dish it out, but he was very sensitive people. So yeah, there was a sensitivity there for sure. That's interesting you bring that up. But yeah, that was there. So
that was part of why he retired.
Yeah, it was those sketches really bothered Johnny, the perception. And then Smigel wrote this brilliant sketch called Carcinio, and it was this was the season finale of 1991. George Wendt hosted, and it was Johnny trying to be Arsenio. So he was dressed like Arsenio and had the spiked hair. And then a week later, Johnny shocked everybody and announced his retirement at Carnegie Hall, and NBC freaked out. I mean, it was like their biggest star is I'm out of here. So that was part of it. I mean, Johnny probably was going to get out soon anyway, but I think that those sketches really were a catalyst for that. But Dana Carvey does a great Carson, and Carson would have Dana on all the time. It just once the sketches got mean, Johnny's feelings were hurt, and he was banned from the show. I go into detail the people that were banned and why. I mean,
who are some of the others? Oh
gosh, anybody that was rude to Johnny's staff and Johnny fan out, like Jerry Lewis or Steve Allen, you were gone. I mean, to this day, there's still, I'll tell you afterwards, certain people that are banned from these shows if they're rude to the staff. There's one person that they asked not to smoke. You weren't allowed to smoke, and this famous musician blew smoke in the intern's face, and they banned the person, rightfully so. I wasn't surprised. I heard this musician's not a nice person. It is not Steven Tyler, but I heard from many other people this person is not nice from other people, so I wasn't surprised who it was. I'll tell you afterwards. But you can't be rude to the staff.
Right. So wait, Jerry Lewis and Steve Allen were rude?
Yeah, because Allen came in with material when he was guest hosting. They were both guest hosting. And they were working with Jerry Lewis was working with the cue card person and gave all this extra stuff to the cue card person. And it was just like, Mr. Lewis, I can get the stuff, all of this on, but this extra stuff, there just isn't time. I don't have time till 5:30 to get this. And Lewis just let him have it and just yelled at him and went to the producer. And the cue card person went to Johnny, and Johnny was friends with him and said, Johnny, I'd really appreciate it if from now on I don't have to work with Jerry Lewis. And he's like, well, why? What happened? And he told him, and he's like, Jerry Lewis will never do the show ever again. He's not going to guest host. And Johnny did once have him on in 84, 83 and was miserable. I think Johnny hated people confronting him, and just I'm sure Lewis just got like, can I please go on this one time? But he was banned for all of that. Yeah, I mean, if you were rude, it was done. You were Yeah, it was over.
Who were the other? Well, so Joan Rivers. So what happened with Joan Rivers?
Joan is
like
interesting because
famous one.
The cue card person told me, he went to Johnny. He's like, I have an opportunity, my cue card company, to do Joan Rivers show. Will you allow me to do it? And Johnny's like, of course, you have to do it. I want you to do it. I want you to, that's going to affect your business. As long as somebody went to Johnny and said, I have an opportunity, he would bless it. Mm-hmm. It was really tough. Miss Rivers was trying to be a good wife. Her husband, Edgar Rosenberg, his dream was to get respect from the industry and be a big producer, a big shot. He wasn't. Miss Rivers and him went to Fox. Barry Diller was starting up Fox, and there was interest in them doing a late night show. Barry Diller, to my face, told me in New York, I told Joan, you owe it to Johnny to tell him that you were going to be doing a show opposite him. I am friends with Carson. He said, I have a poker game with Carson. You need to tell Johnny that you signed this contract with Fox. And Joan's husband, Edgar, said to Joan, there's going to be unforeseen circumstances if we tell Johnny. We can't tell Johnny. And then
what does that mean? What do you think he meant? Like Johnny's going to try to sabotage you?
What he meant probably, and he was probably right, was that Johnny would have blessed it, but said stopped having her guest host The Tonight Show. So it would have affected about maybe 2 months of her not guest hosting The Tonight Show. So instead, and all her friends were like, you need to tell Johnny. And she didn't.
Because he had given her this, like he kind of made her who she was,
the
right?
permanent guest host. She broke Frank Sinatra's record in either Vegas or Atlantic City. For 3 years, she was the first time in the history of the show that permanent guest host was Joan.
So how often would she guest host?
Every 5 weeks. And what Johnny would have told her, if she would have gone to Johnny would have said, you have my blessing. It's a lot of money, I understand. But he would have tried to help her and said, because he was convinced that her style would not work every night. I mean, you can't go out there and do Elizabeth Taylor fat jokes and insult celebrities and then expect that you're going to get famous people to be guests on your show. He
was convinced that her style wouldn't work every night. Who had he said that to?
To Joan. He was considered the style of Joan insulting celebrities would not work on a nightly basis. And he would have told her that he thought it was a mistake for her to go to the Fox show. It just wouldn't work doing it. It works every 5 weeks, but to do that every single night, he didn't think it would work, and it didn't work.
But she didn't tell him.
No, she didn't.
Her husband said, "Don't."
Johnny was a straight shooter. When Roseanne was about to sing the Star Spangled Banner to the Padres, Johnny said, "Are you sure you want to do this? It's the hardest song." Like warning her, "You don't want to do this." He would do that to people, and Roseanne famously didn't listen. And you have the President of the United States, George Herbert Walker Bush, calling her a national disgrace. I mean, Johnny would foresee things, and he was honest about it. He would have told Miss Rivers, you have my blessing. It's a lot of money. I get it. But I would turn it down just because he didn't think the style would work. And then
she would probably think he's saying that because he is threatened.
It could be. I don't know what happened with that. It easily could have been. But what happened is the day before the press conference, that Sunday, or the day before the press conference, he got a call from Brandon Tartikoff. And Johnny was heartbroken. He couldn't believe it. He was negotiating his company because he owned The Tonight Show. He owned it from 1980 on. He owned his show. He was negotiating for Miss Rivers to keep guest hosting The Tonight Show, even though she had signed with Fox 2 months earlier.
So he felt betrayed.
Yeah, and not only that, but Miss Rivers admits this. She tried to take Johnny's producer Peter LaSalle.
Oh wow!
And Peter told me the whole story. I mean, he would vacation with Rivers, and the families were friends.
Yeah.
Tried to take, and then every talent coordinator got a phone call. Johnny's all 5 doubled their salary and offered to go over. Tried to take all of Johnny's staff.
Did anyone go?
No.
So what was she thinking?
I think that she was trying to be a good wife, and I think that she saw this opportunity as just so much money, and she was trying. There was this stupid list that wasn't real that even her own friend said, "Joan, this isn't real." It was there was a vice president at NBC named Jay Michaels, and her and Joan would play these horribly dark pranks on one another. And one time, that Michael said, "There's this list. 10 people are on it. If people to replace Johnny, you're not on it." And her friend was convinced, and everyone else, that this is not a real list. But Joan's husband really wanted to be a producer and was convinced Joan that this list was real. you're not on it. And he just really wanted to be a producer and have his own show. And after 9 or 10 months of being a producer, Barry Diller said, this guy's incompetent, and said, Joan, your husband is either fired or you're gone from the show. And Joan thought he was bluffing, and he wasn't bluffing, Barry Diller, and got rid of Joan and started bringing in guest hosts like an unknown Arsenio Hall. 2 months later, Edgar Rosenberg takes his own life.
Yeah.
And Joan finds out she's in debt, something like $29 million. Talk about resilience, building herself back up in a comeback story. I mean, it's unbelievable what she went through, and then to bounce back to the levels she did in terms of reinventing herself and her longevity. But I don't think she ever got over Johnny not forgiving her. And Johnny didn't get revenge on people like that. He never mentioned her name on the show again. It was just, he was, as a defense mechanism, was so hurt that he just never, she didn't exist.
Like, I mean, she was dead to him.
Yeah.
How did it, from what you've learned, how did it shake out? Like, did they ever have a conversation?
No,
again?
she'd see him at restaurants.
Reach out to him?
She tried. When his son died, she wrote a note, and then she'd see him at restaurants, and he would just turn his back to her and just wouldn't.
Did he talk to his circle about her, about how he felt?
He said publicly, or to his circle, I don't want to get in a, quote, pissing contest with her, because Joan was very much going to the media and like, this is just making up all this manufactured, like there's like a war between the shows, and there wasn't. She's like, you know, people that go on my show are going to get blacklisted from the Tonight Show, and I go into
Is that true?
No, it's like Mel Brooks, Michael J. Fox, all these people that went on Joan's show. Johnny had them on. Johnny didn't care. There was none of that was going on. It was a one-sided manufactured war. And once she tried to start taking Johnny's staff, Johnny just was like, he just thought
dumbfounded.
Yeah. I mean, when Joan went on the show in 65, I think it was 65, and made her debut, it was like the next day, Walter Winchell, all the columnists are like, this is the new Carol Burnett. And she was back there like a week later, and just, I mean, it was, at the time, it was probably, out of anybody that did the show, it was like night and day in terms of like somebody launching their career. It was, yeah, she quit her job at Candid Camera, and she was just on that show all the time. She never did stand-up on Carson's show. She was always a sit-down guest. She went on as a female TV writer with Candid Camera, and she was like so good at making it look spontaneous that there was a conversation, but every syllable was written out and tested in clubs. But she was so good.
Do you think she regretted not telling him?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, all her friends told her to, and she was with Johnny 2 weeks before the press conference. She could have told him. She then kept guest hosting the show up until like a week before the press conference. And she said she later did disclose that part of the reason she didn't tell Johnny is because she knew that the guest hosting would stop.
Right.
She's like, they did that with David Brenner, and it's like, yeah, it's Johnny's competition. Of course he's going to do that. But
right.
She would have been back. Everybody that went up against Johnny would get canceled, and then Johnny would have them back on the show, and it was all good. It was just, he just couldn't believe that that's how she decided to do things. And again, when she would introduce people, she wouldn't say privately to people at a party, I'm Joan Rivers, I'm Joan Rosenberg. That she was really wanted to be a good wife. And I think it just cost her a lot, unfortunately.
So it sounds like you are putting a lot of the onus on the husband.
I am. I that's from talking to people that knew both of them. And Miss Rivers' own friends will say things like that, and people that knew them. Yeah, that seems pretty consistent. Yeah.
Who else was banned?
Oh, goodness.
Was Ellen DeGeneres?
Ellen was banned only because, and there are a couple other comedians, and I'll tell you why. Ellen was banned. It sucks because she was the first woman ever called over in Burbank. In New York, the first woman was Liz Torres. People might know her from Gilmore Girls. She was amazing. She was so good, funny.
Who did she play on Gilmore Girls?
Oh, gosh. I wish. I only Rory. She wasn't Rory. I know that. I forget what her name was.
She wasn't Lorelai.
Yeah, no. I love that. It's such a great show. I can't believe I'm blanking. I haven't watched the show in a long time.
I'll look it up.
We'll look it up. But Liz Torres is phenomenal. Excuse me, and was on that show. So what I was saying is, yeah, Ellen was great. She does the phone call to God routine, gets called over to the couch. It's like unbelievable. And then I think it was on her third appearance, she was told not to do a specific joke that was religious theme, because the phone call to God was like a Bob Newhart type routine that was not offensive. They didn't think, but she did a joke that they thought was offensive, and she did it. And Jim McCauley afterwards, the talent coordinator, booker of all the comics is like, you were never doing the show again, and threw her off.
So it was the booker, not Carson?
Carson was livid. Okay. I mean, if you go into somebody's home and you're told not to do a joke, Brad Garrett did something he was not supposed to off color, and he was gone from Carson too. It's just like, especially if you're Don Rickles or Rodney Dangerfield, maybe, or like Richard Pryor, you can get away with a lot more. But if you're told not to do something and you do it, you're gone. Yeah. He had very specific guidelines. Like Orson Welles was banned from the show.
Oh, why?
Because he was a magician, and he told Johnny, when I guest host the show, I'm going to do a Kreskin routine. And Johnny's like, you're going to do a what? Like, I'm going to do a Kreskin. So Johnny on his day off puts on a disguise and incognito shows up to the very back of his studio in Studio One to watch what Orson Welles is going to do. And Orson Welles does a mentalist type routine, and it turns out he had two stooges in the audience, two plants. And Johnny, that went against everything that Johnny had with magic with plants, and he banned him from the show.
Oh, wow.
He never was allowed to. He never had a writer told me from Carson, a Carson writer told me that he wouldn't have Penn and Teller on because they gave away how the tricks were done. And Johnny just had a very clear idea of this is how magic is. And yeah, it's just strange sometimes how people would get banned like that just for, you just never knew. I mean, that's why Letterman said that they would just be terrified when they were over there that they were going to slip and do something. And,
well, that's what I was going to ask. Did people know what would get them banned and do it anyway, or were people surprised? There
were certain things that they were told not to do. Like, you don't turn your back on Johnny, which William Shatner did.
Because he has a gun?
Because Johnny, Shatner for 2.5 minutes wouldn't let Johnny get a word in edgewise, and was not sticking to the pre-interview and not being interested and being kind of a windbag. And then he turns his back to Johnny to talk to Buddy Hackett, and Johnny's being ignored. And then the third strike that was back then, it would be like Johnny would say, and he's on the show TJ Hooker on another network on Saturday night, and you weren't allowed to say the network. And of course, Mr. Shatner, I'm on ABC, and they had to bleep that out. So Shatner was never back with Johnny.
That's like how if anyone mentions another podcast on my podcast, they're done. They're done.
Never coming back to Miss Rosen's podcast.
Speaking of the aforementioned Mr. Jimmy Pardo, Tony Thaxton, who's not here right now, but my producer, who will be hearing this, is constantly letting people know Never Not Funny is his favorite podcast. And
Come on.
What are you doing?
Oh my gosh, Tony.
What are you? And he's like, well, I don't work for that podcast. And I'm like, exactly, Tony. I'm just kidding.
But Tony, yeah. So that has to be hard to go into a place like that. I mean, at Letterman, if you were a guest on Letterman, it was very much like no toilet humor, don't do this, don't touch Dave, don't hug Dave because Dave had a neck injury. There was just all these things you just don't do this, don't do that. So, yeah.
What was Colbert like?
He was I was there. We started in October of 2005, and we only were given 40 shows. So, I mean, nobody knew who this guy was. I mean, even though he'd been on The Daily Show for 7 years at that point or whatever, I mean, it was one of those things where there were a lot of people that just were convinced that you could not have a comedian sustain a show in character like this for more than like a couple shows.
Carson would have been convinced, right?
Oh, I think so. I mean, Colbert was just so brilliant at it, and just a really nice guy. Like, it was really fun to be at a show that was so tiny and so nothing, and then became just the sensation and it blew up. I was there for 3 years and 8 months, and I remember him trying out for the staff his when he did the now historic the White House Correspondents' Dinner when in front of George W. Bush, and we're like, I can't believe he's going to say this in front of the president, and he did. And the next day, I mean, it was like unbelievable front page news, and people like Warren Beatty were calling into the show to congratulate Steven. He was on this whole another level of fame, but really nice guy. And it was just unbelievable where they were able to make that character work for that many years.
Right. So wait, why was Ellen banned?
Ellen was banned because she did a joke about that she was told not to, and she did a joke, and it was, I think the joke was, I'm a godmother. I have my goddaughter call me God for short. and that was perceived to be offensive to people.
Was he religious, or was he
wasn't.
Worried about?
Johnny was a humanist. So would a humanist believe there is no? He was not public about it, but a humanist believes that there is no God, but you try to leave the world in a better place. He surrounded himself with humanists. Norman Lear was a good friend of his, humanist. Carl Sagan, humanist. Paul Ehrlich, who was into population control. He had on Carson show 15, 20 times. Another somebody like that. So he really liked the humanist, but at the same time did not want to offend middle America, so he was very careful with the religious stuff. So even though he wasn't offended, he was very, I think that's how you stay number one probably for that 30 years, is knowing your audience and playing to all the demographics.
Oh, wait, I was going to ask why Carl Sagan was banned, but you already told me it's because he corrected
him twice.
Do you remember what he corrected him on?
It was something, it was like a year and then something, how many miles or something. But I've watched this stuff like the Zambruder film, like back and forth, and you can just see the facial with Carson when somebody either says something that he deems offensive or corrects him or he's embarrassed, and it's like they are not coming back.
Right. So
oh my goodness! There's this. Are you a Harry Potter person or not?
No,
I not really. But there's a woman named Miriam Margolis. I think I'm saying it right. And she was in the Harry Potter movies. And Johnny liked her. She was very, very funny and a great storyteller. And she once did. She said, I don't want to get graphic here. I'm so sorry.
Oh no, it's fine. I don't have any. You can do any kind of humor on my show.
Well, this is just like important. She said she told a story that wasn't approved, and she's like, and Johnny, I had to move my bowels, and you could just see Johnny just like puts his head and starts shaking his head, and the audience is laughing at Johnny, but he's really pissed. Like Letterman would always be told guests no bathroom humor, no bathroom humor.
Now, was that because of Letterman's own stuff or because of what he thought would play?
I think that Dave worshipped Johnny, and the fact that Johnny tried to do a very sophisticated, smart show. I think Dave did that as well. Like Dave didn't on NBC would have professional wrestlers on, but when he was on CBS, he just didn't. It was just a different show. Like Sandra Bernhard, I think only did the show maybe once or twice. It was he just looked at it as a more sophisticated show. So like when Dwayne Johnson broke, Dave, I was told by several people was really kind of upset he had to have a professional wrestler on. But then Dwayne Johnson was so smart and so charming that Dave was taken and was like, he's such a good guest. He was talking about something, I think maybe it was his tattoo, what it meant, like in terms of different language, and Dave was admitted later he was completely wrong about him and was happy to have him keep coming on.
Yeah.
But there was just a level of sophistication that Letterman, I think, looked at Carson's show and was obsessed with when in Johnny's career did this, and Dave tried to emulate.
What were Carson's superstitions?
Carson's superstitions. Dave Letterman was the superstitious person. I'm trying to think if Carson had any superstitions. Let me think about this.
I'll hear. I'm interested in Dave Letterman's superstitions as well.
Oh my goodness. Well, I'll do Carson a little bit.
Okay.
Carson, I don't know if it's superstitious, but he didn't he would only like to get there like an hour or two before the show because he felt that it would waste his energy. So, and then Ed McMahon would come in right before the show just to say hi to him. And usually he would just go up and tell jokes to people behind the curtain while he smoked. But Letterman, back in the day, Hershey bars, and they couldn't be waxy Hershey bars. I graduated Hershey High School, by the way. I did. I grew up in Hershey, Pennsylvania.
I know your whole life was chocolate.
Yes,
themed.
Hershey Park, and Dave did business with Hershey, and you would have Hershey bars and then pineapple cut in a certain way. And just really he'd have to throw the football, it would have to go a certain way, very like an athlete almost. Madeline Smithberg told me, who was one of the co-creators of The Daily Show, that Dave at one point, this is during the NBC show, that he spilt cologne by mistake in his dressing room, and it went all over the place, and he had a really good show that night. So then he had to do that every single night for I don't know how long. But again, athletes do this. I get it. I mean, it was do or die in terms of Letterman doing that show and the amount of energy that it took, and just, it was very hard for him when the show didn't go well. But Johnny didn't really have those as much superstitions. But,
and what was the situation with his eye surgery?
Oh my gosh. This was Johnny's competitiveness. Now, somebody told me this story on staff, and I did a lot of research to make sure this was true. So in 1971, Johnny has all this competition. Johnny has Dick Cavett, who's 10 or 11 years younger. David Frost was 14 years younger. They're all opposite Johnny. They're all more youthful. Johnny has this girlfriend.
It's so funny because I don't think of Dick Cavett as youthful.
Yes, the man was born in 1935, I think, but or something like that. But you have Johnny's then girlfriend, who became his third wife, Joanna, telling him, Johnny, stop dyeing your hair. So he stops dyeing his hair so it's white. Then you have his mom, Ruth, who he revered, and his mom's like, you look so old, Johnny, with the white hair. So
caught between two women.
What he does in 1971 is he checks himself into, I think it was Presbyterian, the top floor of the hospital, and he tells everybody he has hepatitis. And but he is getting plastic surgery on his eyes by Dr. Tom Reese, who's the most famous Manhattan plastic surgeon. There's only like 5 of them back then that even exist. And so he's getting the plastic surgery. He says it's hepatitis. So everybody at this point thinks it's hepatitis, and Carson doesn't realize that this is contagious. So everybody at NBC that came within like a foot of Johnny has to get this painful shot, this gamma goblin shot. So 200 shots are administered from the NBC.
If only he could have said that he had like strep or something.
I know. Johnny is like horrified. So not only do you have all these people that are getting, then you have like Tony Randall and all the guests that were there the last couple of weeks that have to go in and get the shot. Then you have people that were not even near Johnny, NBC vice presidents that want to prove their proximity to Carson, that didn't even need the shots, that want the shot as this
badge of honor.
Yes. So they get shots of like, even though they don't need the shots. And then Johnny's horrified, and then he comes back, and he looks cosmetically more pleasing and thinks he looks younger, and it starts making the gossip columns, the columns that Johnny did not have hepatitis. And
how did they know? Is it because of how he looked?
I think it's just, I don't know how you can keep something like that a secret. And I mean, now it would just get out. They were able to, but I think it just got out to people. And then Carson, especially back then, was like so litigious. And there were people, at least one person that said Carson had cosmetic eye surgery, and he never sued anybody or never corrected them. So don't painful lesson to learn.
I have to tell you what's intruding upon this show. It's my son who you met.
Yes.
Before we started, he's like, Mommy, can I be on the show? And I said, oh, honey, no, it's a different kind of show. It's an interview show. And he's like, what do you mean? He's like, I'm going to ask the guests questions. And then he's like, can I ask him questions? And I'm like, well,
we should do it.
Let me think about it.
I will say this. Your son, I give him so much credit for his generation. He made eye contact with me from the tablet. He could have easily said, hi, nice to meet you, Mark, and kept looking at the tablet because the tablet wins.
He looked up, I think, because he's like, I might get to interview that guy.
Oh, I mean, I said,
usually what I'll say to him is maybe at the very end.
Sure.
But the thing is, he doesn't. He refuses to do a pre-interview.
Like Tony Bennett.
Tony
Bennett didn't do pre-interviews, and neither did Howard Stern, Samuel L. Jackson. Who else didn't do pre-interviews? I think that's it. That's hilarious.
And I said to him, well, what questions are you going to ask him? And he said, well, I'm not going to tell you ahead of time.
Oh, my goodness. This could go really bad or really good. But
here's the thing, though. He said that he's going to ask you. Finally, he revealed he's going to ask you questions about Tasty Planet, which is a video game he plays.
I would be I've never played Tasty Planet. I don't know
no
what
one has.
that.
I actually have once,
okay,
but only because there was this level that he was afraid of, so he made me play it. And I don't play games like this. It's just like you're a little like planet, and you eat other planets till you get big, and then you like eat the sun, and then there's a scary like a weird spaghetti monster that he was afraid. I don't know. So he wants so badly to be an on-air personality, you know?
Sure.
I just don't know if he has what it takes, to be quite honest.
So he's never been on before?
Oh, no, he has.
Yeah, I thought
so. And it hasn't gone well.
Okay.
I mean, it's gone okay. I'm just telling you. So I thought I heard his voice. He's been texting me. This is what he texted.
Okay.
And then we'll get to our segments. He texted, oh, my God. He said, do you mean the show after or the show now? Please tell me. and then a bunch of praying hands. And then he said, respond back with a sad face. I can't be on this, sad face. And then a lot of gibberish. And then, can I be on the next? Because I'm doing another show after this. Yeah. That one's over Zoom. So no, I can't be on that one. Okay, let's do let's get to the segments, and then we'll get to Owen. Maybe.
You can always cut it out, and he won't. I mean,
yeah, he will know. Let's do just me or everyone.
Sometimes I ponder on something I have thought or done. Is it just me or everyone?
All right. Okay. Might you have one?
I live in New York City. It is very noisy with the horns, with the horn pollution, and I get very upset. It's in people's DNA to, if the light is green, within like a fourth of a second, if they don't go, to start beeping the horns. And I think sometimes when I make eye contact, I'll turn to the horn person that doesn't need to be, and I'll like give them a dirty look that's going to help them see the
error
of their ways, and that they're going to be like, you know what, that guy looking at me dirty, he taught me something valuable, and I'm not going to be doing noise pollution. But
so you're just me or everyone are you the only one who thinks that you're really teaching them?
Yeah,
letting them know. Like, you can't only be you.
I don't know. Yeah, that's what Burbank. I walked here 3.8 miles here.
Which is nuts.
I know people don't walk here, but I'm a New Yorker, so I'm like, I'm going to walk here. I walked over some highways and some overpasses. I probably shouldn't have done that.
Was there space for you to walk? Like,
yes, I just had to back up a couple places where there was no room. But yeah, I'm not going to do that. I'm taking a lift back, doing that. But so yeah, that gets me. But people here are nice. They don't do the horn thing. Yeah. So that's good.
I'm gonna talk New York locations for a moment. So I worked at Time Out New York when I lived there, and Time Out New York was on, let's see if I can do this, 37th. Between 10th, was it 9th and 10th? Or was it 10th and, is there an 11th, or is it just West Side Highway?
No, there was, there was a 10th and 11th.
How far west?
Maybe more uptown there's a 10th and 11th, but I know there's a 10th and 11th. Yeah. There would be out there, because like the Javits Center is like 10th and 11th.
Yeah, it was really close. Okay. Yeah. So one day it was, this story's going nowhere. I think I just wanted you to know that I lived in New York. It was very snowy, and I got like stuck in a snowbank on the side of, like, cars were whizzing by, and I was like, how am I? And then I remember all of a sudden, out of nowhere, a person, like a hand appeared. Someone saw me stuck there, and they like helped me out. It was so nice. See, wow. People say it's a rude city, but it's not.
I did a video where I started the southernmost end of Manhattan. I wanted to see how far north I could transport myself, only by having New Yorkers asking them to physically carry me.
Oh, yes, I saw
because
this.
I wanted to, because I was so tired of people being like, New Yorkers are rude. They're not. They're just they have to get to places. But if you need help, I do think that they're very good at stopping. Yeah. And I had 155 people carry me 9.4 miles. It was the coldest day of the year, 11 degrees. So that was proof people are nice.
Question about the stunts.
Yeah.
Do you get nervous to foist your stunts upon people?
I was nervous somebody would drop me, but nobody did, which was good. I was very lucky during that. But as long as people want to be involved, I'm good. I mean, definitely.
Do you get nervous about like asking them to be involved, or about approaching them, or about like bringing a goat into the Apple store?
My wife Christine was very like nervous. She was so nervous she thought she was going to throw up. I mean, she's the one that was like, "We're going to get in so much trouble." And then when she saw the Apple store employees were into it, it was all good. I mean, when I did 171 Starbucks, I was scared.
You went to 171 Starbucks in a day.
The premise was, could I go to every single one in Manhattan, all 171 in less than 24 hours, make a purchase and consume something? I had to go to a store.
You didn't have to finish it, did you?
No, I just had to do something. Okay. But I had to go to a store every 7 minutes for 23 hours straight.
Jesus.
Took me on a bike like 2 months to training, and I was freaking delirious and in pain for days following that. But I was concerned for my safety. I mean, it was just because
you were so tired, or
we were so tired and just so determined that the biking we just probably shouldn't have been taking as many risks on bicycles as we were to try to make this video work. And then after around like 12 or 14 hours, I couldn't walk in a straight line because it was a hot July day and I was so caffeinated. So we ditched the bikes, and then my friend Jill drove us around in a car. But yeah, I think like that was just dangerous, scary, dangerous.
Was that your idea?
Yeah. It was just curiosity. I was just at Starbucks and I asked somebody that worked there how many Starbucks are there in Manhattan, and then I was like, I wonder if somebody could conceivably go to that many, and then all it takes is somebody that doesn't know me very well, and they're like, I'll tell them the idea, and they're like, that's impossible, and then I'm like, okay, now I have to do it.
You have to, yeah.
Like I did a thing where I shouldn't have done this either. I stayed at 52 hours straight for a charity asked me to do a thing where it's like a longest volunteering thing, and I had never stayed up for more than 27 hours, and my friend is like, do you really? There's no way you can stay up for 2 days straight. And I'm like, okay, now I have to do it. So I did. Yeah, it was like 52 hours that I stayed up.
What did you feel like by the end?
I was hitting myself very hard. By the end, my wife Christine did it with me. She didn't. It was her idea to do it with me. She's like, if you're going to do it, we'll do it together. So we were like kind of accountability. You start hallucinating about at hour 54. So I didn't get to the hallucinations, but we talked to a doctor during it, and he's like, you don't want to do any more than this. And
were you drinking a lot of coffee to stay awake?
Yeah, doing coffee and some other things. But
what other things?
Gosh, Christine had some really good natural things to take that were like helping a little bit. But yeah, if I don't pull the thing off, I don't know. I feel so much shame. So I think that I just was like, I have to do this. They asked me to do this charity, and hopefully they'll get a lot of press, which didn't happen. AFIA is really good charity. But they asked me to do it, and I was like, I don't want to let them down. So yeah, don't do that. What's the most you've ever stayed up?
Gosh. I don't think I've done any like crazy staying up. I mean, I've taken a ret. I hit a point where it was in my 30s, and I took a red eye, and I arrived in New York again, where I lived for some time. And it was like 6 a.m. And I remember thinking like, I can't do this anymore because it doesn't feel safe for me to be like out and about because I feel so out of it.
Yeah.
So probably in traveling, staying up a lot, but I remember in college talking to friends late into the night and after college as well, just hanging out with friends and being like, oh, look, the sun is coming up,
Yeah.
And that was like easy to do. But then I would just sleep the next day.
Yeah.
Now that would not be easy
I
to
can't
do. I can't
that.
even stay awake morning to evening.
No, I take naps every damn day. I just needed to do this one time. But I definitely think when people are like, you can't do that. That's like the thing that I'm like, I don't know. Got to make it happen.
Yeah, that's a good quality. All right. Do you have a hey, go fuck yourself?
Hey, go fuck yourself.
People that beep their horn in Queens in Astoria for no reason except to upset me. Those people, I think those people, who do you have? Do you have anybody?
Oh my God. All the time. I have new ones. I mean, I am a walking grudge. Who do I want to tell to go fuck themselves today? I'm thinking here. What has pissed me off today? Well, on the most recent show, my hey, go fuck yourself was my vision insurance because you can only use it once per year, and they don't tell you can only use this once per year.
That should be disclosed. That should be disclosed.
It should be.
Yeah.
And then I called them today to find out, like, can I get my, remainder? And so if I get my contacts in network, it's $130. If I get them out of network, they'll cover $130 in all. If I get them out of network, they'll cover $105. But I feel like the way the math works, like, is it really worth it to have vision insurance? They are really not covering very much at all.
Sometimes insurance isn't worth it. Cat insurance, I'm told, isn't always worth it.
Pet insurance?
Yeah, pet insurance.
Yeah, I have decided with pet insurance, because I got tired of looking into it, I decided it's basically not worth it unless so basically, this is what I think. I think either you pay it monthly or you pay it, throughout the pet's life. When you go in, it's going to be a few thousand, or you've spread that out. However, I think if there's some like emergency situation, maybe it works out in your favor, but for the most part, no.
Yeah, we had to take our cat in an emergency, and we overheard other people being like, for your dog, the operation, like $6,000, like $7,000. And it's like, oh my gosh.
It's a lot.
Yeah.
It can be a lot. But I think if you add up the like 100 a month throughout all the, I don't know. And lastly, what is your Podcast Pals product pick?
Podcast Pals product picks.
I picked I have a diffuser, and it's not the diffuser, but it's I sent you the link. It's an essential oil peppermint, because I just get, from living in New York, I just get so tense, and just breathing that in, the peppermint makes me feel momentarily, just at least for a moment or two, feel good.
Oh, that sounds great. That'll be in my Amazon store, amazon.com/shop/Allison Rosen. Now would be a time for me to mention that I am on Patreon. Patreon.com/Allison Rosen. You can get all sorts of, do you have a Patreon?
I did. I'm not doing it yet. I don't know if I'm going to be doing it. I might, but I did it for Carson Podcast, and it went really well, and people were very generous on Patreon.
Yeah. Patreon people are the best. My Patreon people are the best of the best. You can get episodes of The Friend Zone. That's my Patreon podcast. There's a level where you can text me and I'll text you back. I do a daily text update. For example, people at the texting level, as of yesterday, knew that you were coming on today. I mean, they know stuff a little bit before.
Do they have a limit, though, of how many times they can text you a day?
Nope.
Wow.
Unlimited access to Alice, but they're all very like respectful and cool and nice. You would think it'd be a problem, but it has not been a problem at all.
Tell me your verdict on Substack so far.
I like it so far. They take a hefty cut.
They do. I'm thinking about doing Substack.
I like Substack. Yeah. I'm also on Substack.
Substack. Good at your headlines in terms of like, I'm like, I want to know what Allison.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. Yeah. AllisonRosen.substack.com.
That's what I'm saying.
Patreon has a competing newsletter thing now.
I know. I just heard about that.
Yeah. I think I like Substack though. I like to spread it out. So here's what I think we should do. I think we should end we should pretend to end. We're going to do an end.
Okay.
And then we're going to invite Owen out to ask his questions. And that can be like bonus content for people that stick around, or it can just not be included at all. Tony, cut this part out. Mark Malkoff. It was so nice.
Yes.
I mean, cut it out if we end up cutting out the Owen, but keep it if we keep the Owen. Mark Malkoff, it was so nice having you on the show.
Nice to see you.
Thank you so much. Everyone, run out. Don't just go out. Run out and buy Love Johnny Carson, One Obsessive Fan's Journey to Find the Genius Behind the Legend. What else should they get or look for?
Oh, I don't know. I think that's good. I think they should subscribe to your Substack. Check out my Inside Late Night podcast on Late Nighter. My book is really thick. It's like 400 pages and then 40 pages of citations. So don't get paper cuts.
It's a textbook, really.
Yes, there's some geometry problems, and it's good. I don't know what I'm talking about.
Thank you so much for being on the show. Listeners, thank you for listening. I love you. You matter. Goodbye.
Hey, do you know about the Allison Rosen Show? We had a good time, but now we gotta go. Yeah, Allison Rosen is your new best friend.
All right, now we will bring out a 6-year-old. Here he is.
It's the real start of the show. Can I just say, I know nothing about video games. I know nothing.
I'm sitting in Mommy's seat.
Okay. All right. So, Owen. So tell us how you're literally so relieved. Okay, whoa.
Owen, how old are you? That's how old you are? Owen, so how old are you? For real?
6.
6 years old. What's your favorite food?
They have a lot of different favorite foods. I don't know.
Who's your favorite podcaster? Say your mom.
Duty.
Wait. Duty's a better podcaster than Mommy?
Because Duty's not real.
Oh my goodness. Do you have can you tell me a knock-knock joke? Do you have any knock-knock jokes?
Knock, knock.
Who's there?
Knock, knock.
Who's there?
Knock, knock.
Who's there?
Knock, knock.
Who's there?
Knock, knock.
Duty?
Knock, knock.
Who's there?
Knock, knock.
Go talk into the mic.
Man, the people that are paying money on Patreon are so enthralled right now.
Knock, knock.
Who's there?
Knock.
What do you want? Can you tell me what you want for what do you want for Christmas or Hanukkah? Can you tell me what you want?
Knock, knock.
What do you want for your when's your birthday, Owen? Oh, wow, that's coming up. What do you want for your birthday?
Knock, knock.
You want Duty?
Duty.
For your birthday? What?
Christmas in my diaper.
What? Owen, what's your favorite TV show? Do you have a favorite TV show that you like?
Duty.
There is no TV show named Duty. You were making that up.
No. Duty.
Who were you for Halloween? You were not Duty for Halloween. Who were you for Halloween?
Duty.
That is not true. You were making that up. I bet you are not going to say Duty one more time.
Knock, knock.
Who's there?
Duty.
Who were you for Halloween for real?
The Minecraft character.
You were what for Halloween?
The Minecraft character.
Oh, Minecraft. That's fun. If you weren't a Minecraft character, who would you have been? Don't say Duty.
Duty.
What? Gosh. I should. Wow. Are you going to get your own podcast when you get older?
Duty.
The Duty Podcast.
The Duty Podcast.
If you do better on Patreon than your mom or myself, then we're going to be jealous.
Duty.
Yes. If you could have any guest on a podcast that you were hosting, who would you want?
Duty.
That is not true.
No, really.
Who would you want? If you could have somebody on, who would you want?
Tony.
Tony who? Tony. Oh, the producer?
No.
Producer Tony Hawk?
Tony is a guest.
Okay. Is that a friend of yours?
He's a guest.
Oh, he's a guest?
Duty.
What?
You mean Tony who comes over and is on Mommy's show,
Oh,
right?
that's very nice. You would like him on. I think he would be very good. I think he would do very well on the show. And if he was here, what would you say to him? Don't say Duty. Oh my goodness. Wow. If this was on TV, we'd save this for sweeps. This was
Mom.
What?
Duty.
what? Oh my goodness.
Duty.
Hey, Owen, did you want to ask Mark some questions?
You want to ask me some questions? Let's do this.
Okay.
Okay, let's do this.
Do you know Duty?
I do not know Duty. I hear good things though.
You hear Duty.
I do hear Duty, yes.
Duty, 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 Duty.
Wow. Yes.
Duty.
What more questions? You have any other questions?
Duty.
Duty. I lived in a store. Is that interesting at all? No, I guess not.
Duty.
Yes. Yes.
All right,
Minecraft.
I think we're going to wrap it up pretty soon.
No. Duty, 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 Duty.
Wow.
Duty. Knock, knock.
Who's there?
Duty.
Oh my goodness. You are so sneaky.
Duty, Duty,
I thought you were going to say something else.
Duty, Duty,
Wow.
Duty, Duty,
Man,
Duty, 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 Duty.
can't believe we could do this all night. I have to head to LAX. I have to catch a flight.
Duty.
I'm going to dream of Duty tonight, probably because of you.
Duty. Duty.
Man.
Say your last duty.
Duty.
Okay. You want to say goodbye?
Duty.
I have to say that you were probably better than a lot of the podcasters I've listened to. So.
Duty.
And scene.
Duty.
Thank you.